Welcome to the group chat. I am Coriel, founder and creator of Grown Woman TV. As always, it is my honor anytime I have the opportunity to sit before a group of women who are serious about themselves. One of the things that I love about the work that I get to do at Grown Woman TV is the caliber of women that we seem to attract. We are always attracting women who are putting in that work, being intentional about how they are spending their time, and ensuring that they are not just being selfish with the information that they learn, but they are taking it back so that they can be a source and a resource in their community as well. So tonight I have the pleasure of kicking off the very first group chat experience. Okay, this is a live series where we are going to have some good old girl talk. Okay, this is a safe space for us to figure out how we have gotten into some of the trouble that we may be finding ourselves in, how we can troubleshoot some of those issues, and how we can maybe even change the trajectory of our lives. Now, this series is actually, it was inspired by a conversation that I had with Mrs. Sheri Riley. So she had to be the first person that I featured for this group chat series. So without further ado, I'm going to bring her up. I always love giving my guests an opportunity to introduce themselves so that we can make sure we put some respect on your name. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Mrs. Sheri Riley to the stage. Hey. Okay, so for the people who may not have caught you on Girl Stop Playing, please give yourself a proper introduction before we get into this talk.
Yes. Well, before I even introduce myself, I was like, oh my God, I didn't realize our conversation sparked this. So, I was like,
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
So, hello, everybody. I am Sheri Riley. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm an entrepreneur, and we all know that is not easy, but I have figured out how to make it simple. I also serve as a empowerment speaker, high performance life coach, and award-winning author of the book Exponential Living. Stop spending 100% of your time on 10% of who you are. And I own a personal, professional, and leadership development company by the name Exponential Living, where we empower high performers to grow personally and dominate professionally.
I love it. Okay, you said so much, and I think that I want to start with what initially kind of attracted me to you, but then also kind of sparked this whole series. And that is me wanting to just know like how you managed to do it all. Because it's one thing to have a lot going on, but it's something else to be able to manage and maintain gracefully, which is what it appears like you've been able to do. And I know in one of our conversations, we talked about like you aren't just a mom, like you're like volunteering down at the school, you're going to the practices, you're doing like it's full-fledged, full-time, and you're with that in all of the roles that you serve in. So how do you manage it all?
It's so funny. Literally, right before we went live, I was over here like going through the photos because my daughter got an honor today, which I'll share in a minute. And I was present at her school for that, taking the videos and photos. But I will say how I do it. And I'll just talk a little bit more in a minute about what I do. But how I do it is I literally filter everything through God first, my family, well, me second, my family third, then work, then community and friends. And what I mean by that order, meaning I'm going to prioritize my prayer time, my quiet time, my meditation time, my time to really spend with God. That's who I literally need as my peace. So for some people, that may be their meditation, some that may be yoga, whatever that thing is. But for me, it's my prayer time with God. And then I filter every decision then through, okay, me, meaning I'm going to make my time to work out. I'm going to do that first because that's a priority for me. And then every decision after that is my family first. So if I have, like, for example, the other night, Monday night, I had committed to go to this event with a good friend. We've been trying to get together for like 5 months. I love the band that we were going to go see. I love live music, but my daughter's lacrosse game got moved to Monday night. And as much as I wanted to be at that event, I was at that lacrosse game. Now, the other thing is, I always try to figure out the and. So at first, I was like, well, the game starts at 6 and I can make it to the event at 7:30. But again, the first priority is filtering it through my family first. I know after the game, this was a big game. So we were either going to go after the game and celebrate, or we was going to go after the game and console, right? If we didn't win. And so the and wasn't possible because I knew I needed to commit that time afterwards. And so then it's community or friends and activities. And when I use that as my filter, it allows me to do all the things that are important. It allows me to do it all.
That is gold, because I want to know how you came to this conclusion, because so many of us pray for marriage, for motherhood, to climb the career, to get the titles, to start these businesses, to do all of these things. And then we have all these blessings, but then it starts to feel like a burden because we don't know how to manage it, or because we don't have that filtration system. So did you naturally just kind of know that this is how you had to juggle, or did you have to like stumble into figuring this out?
I stumbled into it with intention, meaning peace was my number one priority. And the more success I achieved in my business, the longer my husband and I grew in our marriage. Then when the children came along, like as the things I was working for began to come, the weight of it all began to really rob me of my peace. And I was just like, well, I didn't work this hard to not be happy. I didn't work this hard to be unhealthy. I didn't work this hard to lose my relationship with God. I didn't work this hard and not be able to make love to my husband because I'm too tired, right? I done prayed, I done, kept myself. Now that I got the husband and now I'm too tired. Like, no. So I had to really with intention create that filter of, and to be honest, in the beginning, it was trial and error. And it took practice to honestly get to the point where whatever the decision was, through the filter that I put it through, that I didn't feel guilty with the decision. So even though I knew my girlfriend was disappointed, because people understand how committed I am to that filter, those people that are close to me, she respected it, right? And when you allow yourself to create that truth for you, and then people see you living in integrity. See, the difference is a lot of people say, oh, I my children are first, but then they'll tell you, oh yeah, girl, I had this work commitment and my babies were at their last big event of the year and I didn't go. Well, it's like what you say and what you do is not in alignment. But people know that I will not go to something if there's a family commitment. Or my family also knows when there are things that I do have to do business wise. They know that most of the time, 90% of the time, I'm going to be there first. And so then my family will give me that grace when I do have to make a decision that's business oriented over family. And so, like, example today, my daughter, her freshman year, made a commitment of this position she wanted to earn her senior years. And it's something you have to go through a whole application process. You have to be interviewed multiple times. You have to do videos. Like, it is a process. And they select 7 people to be like the governing body for the senior year. Well, her freshman year, she made the commitment. She wanted to be in a position to win that position. And so today, in the middle of the day, they scheduled the announcement. So I rearranged the schedule. I pushed meetings here. I pushed meetings there so I could be there for that window. Then I did my meetings, had those meetings. She came in, said, hey, mommy, will you run with me to go get something? Finished my meetings, ran with her to go do something, came back, did some stuff from work that I didn't get to do because I was at lunch. And now we're having this amazing opportunity. So as I was intentional about it and I relieved myself of the guilt in it, then I began to really own the peace in my decisions. So I now had to grow to the place where I don't feel like I'm missing anything. And that's the key.
That is so key. There's so much guilt, especially, and I know I don't want to lean so heavy into motherhood because everybody, everybody who's tuned in and everybody who will watch the replay is not necessarily mothers, but I know that that is one of those roles that you could just get lost in the sauce, and you can feel guilt on both sides. You can feel guilt because I have this new life, this life that is my responsibility, this life that literally is dependent on me. So all of that other stuff is kind of on the back burner. But then on the other side, you kind of feel guilt if you are not able to go so hard after your goals or hustle, 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 grind, grind, grind like you've been accustomed to doing. And a third level of guilt for a lot of the women who are probably tuned in, whether you are a mother or married or not, is when you are a public success, but you feel like a private failure.
Yes.
And I know that this is not a foreign concept for you because you coach, highly successful people all the time. What do you think that comes from? And is there a way to kind of overcome that feeling of, it looks like I got everything going on, I feel like I'm a mess, I feel guilt because I feel like I'm a mess, I should be appreciative of what I do have? Like, how do you navigate that situation?
Yeah, and it is very rampant. Very, very rampant. Like it is more the norm than not. And the first thing I do with my clients is I start with, let's define your definition of success. Because most of the times you feel that negative energy or you feel like a private failure because you're living by a superficial or a definition of success that you haven't even quantified for yourself. And so when we just kind of stop and I make them define, what is your definition of success? And when they really say it and write it down or hear themselves say it, they realize, oh my God, I'm still working for something that I've achieved. Right. And so first we start with just acknowledging your definition of success. The other part of that is many times they'll go, they'll define their definition of success and they may say something like and I love the point you made that, all women are not married, but they may define their success as having a happy home life, whatever that is, right? Single, married, children, not children. And then they'll look at the fact that they spend almost every night at a meeting, a dinner meeting, going out for drinks. And they go, oh, I don't even want to do all of that. Like, I don't even want to do all that. And so when we really define their definition of success, they realize, I am living the things that I want to live. And then we start counting the things that they're grateful for and really acknowledging those things. Like, what are you really grateful for? Well, I'm grateful that I don't get to work out all the time, but I do walk sometimes, or, and they start listing those things. And then they realize there's so many things I'm discounting. Mm-hmm. And so when we define our definition of success and when we start really look at what we are doing, they realize, wow, I'm discounting my success. Like I'm discounting the things that I've worked hard to achieve. And I may not be working out the way I want to, but I still got the opportunity to make a different decision. Or I may not be dating the way I want to, but I do have the opportunity to open myself up to dating, right? And so when we start looking at, okay, what are those gateways of opportunity that you're not maximizing because you're living in this guilt or this state of beating yourself up because you keep calling yourself a private failure? And lastly, some of my clients, I just make them stop saying it. Like, okay, let me tell you all the things that you're doing privately or you're personally doing or the personal things that you should be happy about. And so I just don't allow them to say it anymore. And they realize, oh, shoot, if I don't say it, I'm speaking a truth that ain't my truth.
That's not your truth. So yeah. That's so good. That's so good because we do often, I was at a event one time and one of the speakers talked about like whenever she's experiencing imposter syndrome, she goes back and rereads her resume. She rereads her accolades. She rereads her bio and she remembers like I have done X, Y, and Z because we'll just accomplish these things and we don't even pause for long enough to celebrate it because we're on to the next thing. We're after the next goal. And so no wonder why we look up and we are not feeling grateful because we've never really had an opportunity to sit in that gratitude. And so I want to go back to something you mentioned early on because when I think about just some of the challenges when I was, inviting people to this conversation. I was literally thinking about the type of women who I felt like could get the most value from this. And so for women who feel like, everybody thinks I have it going on, but I don't really feel that way about myself, that was one woman I was thinking about. But then I was also thinking about the woman who feels like it's time for a pivot. It's time for a change. It's time for a new season, but I don't know what that new season looks like. I need some clarity. I'm feeling confused. You mentioned your daily time with God, your prayer time. And so I'm assuming that's your answer to the question when I ask you, like, what do you recommend for women who feel like they're lost, who feel like they're off track, who feel like they need to get back on that path? I know mentorship is really, really huge. So I want to tap into mentorship. But do you have any other like advice or resources for women who are just like, I know something has to change, I just don't know what?
Yeah, outside of prayer and outside of mentorship, my biggest recommendation right now is community of like-minded at the same level individuals. And what I've really found is many women have great friend groups. They have colleagues that they spend time with. They have family members that they can depend on and trust. Some of them have spouses that are really supportive. But what they don't have is a mastermind or a community of like-minded individuals that are at the similar space and place, that they can really have this, what I call kind of this unfiltered truth around how do we come together and hold each other accountable for what's next. What is that pivot? And really getting in the community of accountability where you not only put together the plan, but you are committed to the accountability. And so the difference is with your friend group, you check in, you check out, right? You talk to them, and most of the time, what are you doing? You're complaining, you're fussing, you're crying, you're celebrating, but it's kind of a check in and out. When you have your colleagues, you're really talking about business, right? And what you're going to do in the business. When you have your spouse, you really want them to support you and love on you. So in all of those groups, you still don't have community that you're strategizing, you're masterminding, and you're holding accountable. And that is where I have found a unique space for this group that is either in transition, in a pivot, or at a place where they really are trying to figure out what's next.
I love that. So I definitely want to community for sure. I want to tap into mentorship though as well, because that's another one of those things that when I think of you, I think of, I don't even want to say mentorship because I feel like mentorship has gotten this bad rap like online coaches. It's like mentorship with quotes. But the way that you are a resource to the women in your community and just anybody, not even women, but just the people who I see you in community with, you are actually showing up for them. It's not just I'm gonna be your mentor because it looks good, it sounds good, it makes me feel some type of way to say that. It's like, no, what do you need? How you can really lean on me. And so I think that goes back to what you were saying about having that community of like-minded, like-spirited people, which I know you are bringing together. But talk about the benefit that you have, that mentorship has had on your life. Like, how have you benefited from mentorship by being a mentor and by the other way by being a mentee?
Yeah, I will tell you, one of the reasons I'm so committed to being a real mentor is because I didn't have a real mentor. I've got coaches, but really what I would consider the kind of mentor I am. And so I'm so committed to it, honestly, because one, I love people, but two, I really love to see people win. I really loved it. So when you and I talked and you were like, will you mentor me? When I say yes, I mean yes. I've got another young lady that asked me to mentor. She texted me today with, okay, here's something that I really need some help on. Tonight, after this, I'm going to stop and really give her a really solid answer. And the reason I'm so committed to the mentoring is when you see someone as brilliant as you are, with all that you're building, your business, you're supporting other women and their visions, the marriage you have, these two amazing God gifts that you have, and those babies you got, the impact that you're making. to be able to pour into you when you need someone to ask a question to support, to cheer for you, to give you insight or resources, that's the greatest gift, right? And so when I see you win, and I know that I had a small part in helping you win, and then you multiply that, that is one of the greatest joys. That's one of the greatest joys. But I will tell you what I've also, a byproduct of that is the more I pour out, the more I get back. The more I pour, it is like this open cup, whether it's through ideas that I get. I mean, every time we talk or every time I talk to another mentee, I learn stuff. Like I may hear me say something and it may help me, or they may say something. But then also, this was an unintentional benefit. There's so many people that I've supported that when there's doors that open for me that I would have never known to knock on because of what I've poured out. And so it's just a reciprocal thing. And unfortunately, a lot of people, like you said in the question, they do it just because they want to say, I mentor them. But if that's all you get, you're missing it. There's so much more.
You made me think of, so many levels to all of this. Not being able to ask for help, I think, is holding a lot of people back.
Yes.
Because you could have access. We used to say like the 6 degrees of separation, where you are literally 6 degrees from anyone in the world. Well, with the internet, the fact that we live in Atlanta, Instagram, like it's probably like 2 degrees of separation at this point. So you could literally have the answer to your prayers within arm's reach. Yep. But you're not willing to admit that you need help. You don't want to put your pride aside. You don't want to, like, that whole thing. I think that you should know that you need prayer. You could know you need community. You could know you need mentorship. But if you are not willing to ask for help, you're kind of hurting yourself. So what do you say to the woman? And I'm going to have you share about your program in just a second, because I know that there's somebody here who's like, well, Sheri, I want you to be my mentor too. And you can't be everybody's mentor. Y'all cannot have Sheri, okay? Y'all can't have her, but she does have a program that I'm gonna have her tell you about in just a second. But for people who will even hear about this program and will be like, oh, that's good, but I don't need help. What do you say to that woman who thinks that she doesn't need
help? One of my core philosophies is, helping people that are ready, willing, and committed. Because the only thing I'm convinced of is I can't convince you of anything, right? That's the first thing. But I will say I have been victim to that, where I was afraid to ask for help, or I felt like, and here's the craziest thing. If you ask most of us high-performing women, driven women, why won't you ask for help when you know you need it? Many times they don't even know the answer. They'll go, oh, well, and most of the time it boils down to, well, other people are busy, or I don't know if they're going to do it. And I'm like, but they're either going to say yes or no. And if they say yes, you get the help. If they say no, you got to figure it out anyway. But what I found it really boils down to, why people won't ask for help, is their own areas of lack of confidence. Because when you are confident, you don't look at it as a negative because you need help. You look at it as they're bringing something to the table that you don't have that's going to benefit you. And so when you're confident, it gives you more strength to ask for help, because you're okay if it's a yes or a no, and it's not an indictment on you because you need help. Right. And so what I found when I come across high performers that have a fear or have an issue with asking for help, it's a telltale sign. 1, we got to work on their confidence, or 2, they have yet to really recognize their value. Oof. And they're still living in a place of needing validation versus owning their value.
Okay. Wow. Okay. I don't think that I drew the correlation. I can't ask for help because I'm not confident. Interesting. Okay. I'm gonna have to sit with that.
And here's the thing. You're driven, but you're not confident. Right? And we think drive and confidence are the same thing, and it's not. Drive is what pushes you to achieve. Confidence is who you are when you get there. And so we think because we driven, which gives us, we got it all together. But the truth of the matter is, no, you're driven, but you're not confident. See the
Okay,
difference?
but we about to have to drop the mic on that because I really am gonna have to like. This was not supposed to be for me, Sherry. This was supposed to be for them. Okay, wait a minute because I'm gonna have to hit the replay on that one and really sit with that because wow, that was definitely for me because I will get there. I will be in all of the rooms, but baby, how am I gonna be acting once I'm in that room? That's a totally different conversation.
Absolutely.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. I spoke to a powerful group of women. It was 40, and every last one of them had C in front of their name, right? That group of women. And I spoke on drive versus confidence. And literally, in like no exaggeration, almost every woman was crying. Because they were like, and I went deep into that thing, and they were like, I mean, it's such a hard truth, right? And it came to me in that way. It was a hard truth. Like, yo, I literally was like, do you not know your resume, Sheri? Like, how can you say you not confident? Look at your bio, look at your resume. I was like, girl, you driven.
That is crazy.
But
Because
when
those
you
are two different things.
they are two different things. They are two different things.
You're
Yeah.
not about to have me crying over here on this live, but I'm definitely gonna have to sit with that because I feel like I took like a personality test or some type of inventory or something, and confidence came up, and I was like, "Me? Like no way, I'm confident." But when you say that, that's me. That's me all day because I'm driven. I will get myself there, but I'm going to shrink down slow, 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 slow once I get in the door. Wow.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So listen, that's a perfect segue because for people like that, right, who have the drive, they can get themselves there, but they are not necessarily confident to stand in their strength, to stand in their power. I think that is why you created the power brokers, right?
Yeah.
So for the people who are listening to this and they're like, Sheri, I need you, I want you, y'all can't call her up, but let's talk about what the power brokers is all about.
Yes. So Power Broker Academy literally was birthed out of everything we've talked about tonight. It's, those women who are, what I call high performers. And that doesn't mean, your title. It means that you are committed to that excellence. And you get to a place of success. You get to that place in your life where things are going great. But you're either at transition, meaning you may ready to transition at a higher level in your company or in your business. You may want to be ready to transition out of that business, right? You've run a successful business or you've been in a certain space and place in corporate America, and it's time for something else. Or you're at a place of capacity, like we talked about, like, the family and the responsibilities and the community service you're doing. You got all of these things, and you're just like, I'm overwhelmed, I'm burnt out. Or you're at that place, what I call lack of fulfillment, where you love what you're doing. You love like the family you've created, whatever that looks like, but something's missing for you. Like something's missing. And what I found is that there's a group of women who I call power brokers that literally, if I ask them to answer the question, what do I want? They're going to tell me their business strategy. They're going to tell me the next promotion they want. They're going to tell me how they saving money for their kids' education. They're going to tell me they want a good man. But at the end of the day, when I go, you've checked all those boxes, what do you want? They can't answer that question. And so Power Broker Academy is a community that we've created. It's a small cohort, a very small cohort that we come together at Terranea Resort in July. We spend 3 days together, really focus on your exponential living life plan. But here's the unique difference. The unique difference is how many conferences, retreats, summits have you gone to, left with all these amazing notes, get home, life kicks in, and the notes go in the corner with that last great conference, right? So the unique difference with Power Broker Academy is the accountability, is what we talked about earlier, is the how. Like you get the how, but then you get the accountability. So there's 8 weeks of masterminds with this like-minded community to really grow in the answer to that question, what do I want? We really unpack what's the difference or what's your purpose, your passion, your profit, and your profession.
What?
Sometimes that can be all four, can be the same thing. But many times we get stuck because we don't know how to define what's our passion, what's our purpose, what's our profit, and what's our profession when they are uniquely different. And then you have that accountability to really determine the strategy of that transition, how to create that capacity, and really what's missing so that you can fill that gap with fulfillment. And so it includes coaching sessions, masterminds, the materials. And here's the thing, I'll share this last piece that I love. Last year's group, they their biggest the women that participated last year, every last one of them were like, I don't have time. Like 8 weeks, like I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time. The reality is they could afford not to. Like they finally realized, I don't have time not to do this, right? And so we started in July, we ended in September. I just found out about 3 weeks ago, they still meet every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock.
I love that.
The group that didn't have time to commit one night a week literally still meets. They've gone through public challenges, they've gone through marital challenges, they've gone through people losing jobs, they've gone through people transit. This is all that they've been supporting each other with since we ended in September. And the biggest benefit of Power Broker Academy is it's been curated to be impactful. It's been curated to be transformative, but not overwhelming. Like we don't need another thing on our to-do list. We need transformation. We need answers. We need results. And so that's what I've curated to really bring a small group, a community together and really determine how do we figure out what's next? How do we really work through transition? And how do we get to that place of what do I want so that there's real fulfillment?
I love the format that you have too, because it's like the best of both worlds. It's like conference, best of all three worlds, conference, retreat, and like coaching accountability all in one. So that, to your point, you're not just kind of left on your own to figure it all out once the in-person opportunity is over with. So I am excited about all of the ladies that are going to have the opportunity to be a part of this cohort. I know if y'all are looking at your screen, there's a QR code and also the link powerbrokeracademy.com where you can go to learn more about the program. If you scan that QR code, you'll be able to schedule a discovery call. And if you go to that webpage, there's a link to schedule a discovery call there as well. Y'all have to make sure y'all stay connected with Sheri. She is amazing. Okay. She ain't new to this. She is true to this. And every single time I have the pleasure of connecting with you, you are consistent. So I appreciate you so, so much for all that you do, all of the wisdom that you provide, the resources that you provide. And for anyone who did not who missed any part of tonight's conversation, I will definitely be sending you the replay, and I will also make sure that I link powerbrokeracademy.com in that email as well for anyone who is interested in learning more. Sheri, I appreciate you as always, and I'm gonna be on your line, so be on the lookout.
Look, I told you always, and thank you. You know what? I so appreciate you, and the reason I said yes to you is because of your spirit. You have so much going on, and I love all of that. I love what you're doing. I love the impact you're making. But when I say you have one of the most beautiful spirits, yeah, and you're so cute.
Make me cry. Listen, thank you. I appreciate you. I really, really, really do. I appreciate you more than you know. Ladies, I promise you, if you feel led, because everything is not for everybody, and you know how your spirit is feeling right now. So if you feel like this is an opportunity for you, don't sleep on it. Okay. Don't sleep on this opportunity to be connected to greatness. I love y'all. Sheri, I love you. This replay will be up and available, and I'll also be sending it to y'all via email. Catch y'all on the next group chat. Peace out.